Hi, I'm Layla and I'm the head girl at DBS this academic year.
My name is Finley and I'm the head boy at DBS this academic year.
And welcome to
the DBS Dialogue.
This week we're joined by the Head of Inclusion, Mrs. Baxter, and we're going to be discussing screen time, based off of a recent workshop with Grania Parish, who is the Governor of Inclusion and Director at Insight Psychology. And the workshop was based off of children and screen time, and this podcast this week is going to be supporting parents who are unable to attend the workshop themselves.
We're joined here today with Miss Baxter, who is the Head of Inclusion at DBS.
Hi there, thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you for joining us.
So Miss, what is screen time first and foremost?
Okay, so when we had Grania in to present to our parents, we were very much delivering across the board, because I think people think screen time is very much just our devices, our mobile phones, etc. But actually, when you look at screen time, we have to take into consideration watching television, our mobile phones, our iPads, our computers, our video game systems as well that we have. So it actually is quite a broad overview of screen time, and obviously as more technology comes along, there's more exposure to screen time. In an education setting, we use it a lot, and we need to obviously make sure that we're monitoring and supporting what is healthy use of screens.
So can screen time be important on the back of that?
Yeah, absolutely. There is lots of benefits to it, and obviously from my own job, I find it really useful to help me keep up to date with things that are going on in inclusion. Really useful to link up with other people, inclusion, to learn from them. But it's also really useful in a school setting to help obviously with the education. We've come through a pandemic where technology was the best tool ever for us to be able to deliver education to those people at home, and also keeping in contact with family. We're living in an international setting here, and being away from family is hard, and having access to devices is allowing us still to be able to keep that contact and communication with our family. Obviously there are brilliant apps that are out there. It's really useful for helping the young people learn those basic skills. Parents who may not be able to deliver additional reading support at home, etc. You've got audiobooks now. There's a wealth of things out there that can actually be really, really useful if used in the right way. Even right down to television. There's so many wonderful documentaries and educational content out there that if you tap into those things, that's going to really enhance your knowledge. It's going to really be a positive use for your child in the home setting.
So there are definitely some positives to screen time, but are there also any detrimental negatives related to screen time?
Well, yeah, there is. So obviously, if we think about behaviour being one of them, excessive use of gaming particularly can be very detrimental to the brain development. There's something what we call dopamine levels. Dopamine in the brain gets enhanced and accelerated for even further when you're gaming. Coming off those games, behaviour can deteriorate. Your sleep patterns can be impacted as well. I think we're all guilty of probably having that late at night, watching a movie or something, and then you're before you know it, you're into the wee small hours and you're not getting the right amount of sleep. There's also obviously other things. Lots of research is going on now about how there's some people who have actually had to have their thumbs replaced because actually there's so much using their mobile phones which is the two main fingers you use, your thumbs, and you're there constantly, and that's a small example of the health impacts. Again, obviously think about vision. If you're looking at those bright lights, lots of movement is there. Your musculoskeletal system as well, because if you're bent over, hunched on it, I think we're all guilty of having our mobile phone head down, not watching in front of us. The neck and your spine are going to over time be impacted as well. So not just necessarily the developmental brain side of things, but also your sleep can be disturbed. You can then sometimes go into negative things in social media usage. It can like warp your sense of like what is fact versus fiction. You know, in terms of like we then aspire to look like certain people or be like certain people rather than being the individual people that we are. So I think it's really important that we make sure that there's an even balance there and that we monitor screen time very, very strictly.
So from that, do you have 3 top tips on managing screen time or the content that children are accessing?
Absolutely. I think there is like an age category of when we need to make sure that children are accessing it. You know, younger children shouldn't be really seeing anything more than 1 hour a day. You know, and that's when we're thinking about our 3 to 5 year olds. Definitely nothing at dinner tables. Eating time should be a family communal thing together. So that's where all adults and young people in your family don't have it as a rule. Don't have any devices at the table. It should really just be you together having family time. Having a family account so that parents can then monitor screen time. They can set restrictions on their phones if you have a family account to do that. And then another tip that I would have would be to make sure you're surveilling what they're doing. If you're allowing your child to have free access to download apps, well, they're probably downloading apps that are not age appropriate for them. You know, there are lots of things online where you can actually go and look and say, right, that app is appropriate for this age group, and this is the content you should be seeing. So if you're not sure if that's going to be the right one, do your research first, and then you control app downloads that go onto the devices that your children are accessing.
Yeah.
So, just as like a last thing, Miss, what is your personal screen time?
I do try. I'm being really honest. I do try my best to sort of monitor it. I think in our jobs it's really difficult because obviously as educators we need to plan lessons and we need to sort of like, you know, be updating our Twitter accounts with content for parents, etc. And it is hard for me. I will admit I find it difficult to sort of like switch off at night time and go, right, my working day's done. I need to do other things. I would say obviously in the school day it's high because of work. Weekends I try not to have anything. I am the guilty one of before like my downtime sometimes is using my device to sort of like look at something like what's my friends up to back at home and stuff. But I do try and be really realistic about it. And I have to lead by example. If my children see me doing it, well, obviously they're going to go, well, you do it, so why can't I do it? Yeah. So it has to be really like lead by example. So in the answer to that, I wouldn't know the definite hours. I will say hours, but like I say, at weekends I try to have very minimal screen time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
so
really
insightful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, guys.